Okay. Hi. I wanted to start by, I just had an idea. Part of joy is, part of joy's ideas. I'm going to get to the beginning of this in a second. But one of the joys that I think John might experience is if, you know how we have facial recognition software on our smartphone devices that just tells when there's a face there? Imagine if you had that in a boom mic stand, and when somebody walked up, it automatically rose and went down. How amazing would that be? I got to get on the phone to somebody. All right. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to start with a little association, because part of joy, I think, is association. What I'm going to do is walk through a little history of the sound. It's amazing how we associate with games through music, sometimes even more than other stuff. But we're going to take a little stroll through the history of music. What I want to do is have a little audience participation. So I want everybody in this room, I'm going to say the system that it was on. Some of these pieces are going to be a little bit more obscure, some of them not so much. But I want you to shout the name of it when you know it, and I'm counting on the nerd cred of everybody in this room. So let's get going. You'll only have 10 seconds per song, so make sure you shout it out. Oh. Yeah, failed the intelligence test. Let's try that again. Do this. But look at it on the side. Come on. Commodore 64. Anybody. Electronic Arts. Adventure Construction Set. Here's the next one. Nintendo Entertainment System. No. Not Mega Man. Life Force. Next one. Come on. PC was the system this was on. Oh, come on. System Shock! Oh, you guys lose. Sega Genesis. Thunder Force 3. Yes! Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You guys got this one. Sony PlayStation. We can move on to the next one. Blah, blah, blah. Microsoft Xbox. Everybody knows this. Very good. This is Marty O'Donnell in this part, brother. PC. Got some Warcraft. That was amazing. Not everybody's like, Warcraft! World of Warcraft, specifically. I know this is for the PlayStation Vita. Yell it out. Tearaway. Yes, somebody got it back here. Give them a round of applause. Tearaway, very good. Okay. So association and participation, we've covered two parts of Please Don't Hurt Me. Okay. Okay, let's see if this works now. Go to the next one. Okay. All right, so this is, I've done talks on, let's use WISE, let's perform complex matrices in order to create a physics system for a game, and this is much more of a foundation of what makes us enjoy what we just went through, what makes it memorable for us to sort of show the Halo. Yeah, I know that one. So there's no risk assessment to this, there's no bottom line, there's no business purpose. This is the core of why we're doing what we're doing. Just about all the other speakers have covered fantastic aspects of all of those things. So we're gonna essentially just go creative with all of this. So we've got, the childhood of audio, which consists of things along the lines of micro switches, which were used in pinball machines, which would, when you close a circuit, would make a bell ring, or something physical would take place. It wouldn't be necessarily through diodes or valves, vacuum tubes yet. This would all be through mechanical stuff, and it would trigger something in our brain that would be like, wow, I just did something cool. That would move on to the vacuum tubes and the things that would go into arcade machines, things in which we've got a little bit more control now. But we still have that limiting factor of the physics and the electronics of exactly how we create the sounds, not just the lights, but the sounds of these early arcade works. And then we move on from those to transistors and actual microchips and the advent of things like pulse code modulation, which is a way of representing analog sounds through digital devices, and frequency modulation, which is one of many modes of synthesis. So all of these things are essentially growing up using this confined space for sound. And we're stuck in this confined space, but in a way, it frees us. It enables us, okay, given these parameters, this is how I create what I create. And we remember this stuff because retro is so big, right? Especially in indie. So now we're in adulthood, and not to rip from Cole Porter or the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but anything goes. Essentially we've got the kinds of tools that would, just boggle the mind, from synthesizers to full orchestras. You can go record the Austin Symphony, you can go record LA. If you have the money, you can go to Abbey Road and record them, and a lot of people are doing that. To them, it's their dream come true, and it's their pinnacle of what sounds amazing, hiring Hollywood actors, doing all that cool stuff. But at the same time, how many games do we remember the themes from these big, Call of Duty or whatever? How many of these themes do we really recall? In the sea of information, it seems to be less and less, not just because of the games that we're experiencing, but because of this giant set of decision gates that we have to go through on a daily basis as content creators. So, to sum up, I was thinking about that. I was just like, why do I look at these orchestral things? I'm like, okay, this is what makes you big in game music, or if you are recording with Hollywood actors, this is the epitome of creative expression of your characters in your game. So why do I not necessarily go, wow, oh my gosh, this is like, stepping into the Afterburner machine for the first time, or experience that dating game for the first time. Whatever that really gave you the joy growing up, or even if you weren't, and it was a completely new experience, a lot of that stuff seems to be repeated over and over and over again. And we're just sort of like, what? Okay, if we're at the pinnacle, how do we go beyond that? How do we express ourselves with this stuff that all of us have previously identified as the top, as the very limit of where we can go? So, let me get to the points that are actually made here. We've been given this joy. It's been handed to us on a silver platter. We've had little to do to actually create it. And one of the reasons is because you look at Gama Sutra and you see the job boards consisting of tons of engineer positions and almost zero audio positions, not nearly as many in the way of design, art, and all that sort of stuff. Why is that? Why is that? Well, it's because we're like, well, programming's not fun. I'll tell you something. It's amazing how much fun programming can actually be if you get into it. But the attention that it's given isn't handed to us. We have to make it. We have to put in that effort. Oh my gosh, but it's just not fun. I don't want to do that. So we live in this interesting age of just like, okay, so I become an engineer and it's not fun. Well, that's the assumptions that we've had. That's what we've been given. That's what we've been handed. Okay, so yes. Okay, so essentially how do we take this spot that we are and we move forward and we create this, whatever the new, it could be content, it could be design, doesn't matter what it is, but in a sound perspective, how do we just generate this, either new sounds or take the tools that we have and really try something unique and original? Having the open mind by shutting off Kotaku, Gama Sutra, all of the inputs that we get on a daily basis, and a lot of us are actually very much tied to those things. We love this input, we love this belonging. It's why Twitch TV is so big, that's why people pay money to see somebody playing Minecraft. It's the sense of being seen as important, the sense of being part of a group. That can also be a sort of creative poison. Stepping away from all of that is an important aspect of that. The genres. A lot of people want to say, I want orchestral, I want electronic, I want rock. A lot of times what I try to do is say like, I don't want to call them dirty words, but let's just take a step back and not necessarily say we want John Williams for this. John Williams, has written some of the most iconic, beautiful pieces. We all love them. However, let's try to get away from that. Talk about how you feel about this. Like, make a vocal noise. No, like, what are you talking about? Just, what does this level feel like to you? What does this environment feel like to you? What does this gameplay mechanic feel like? Try to express it actually through very simple guttural sounds. And it sounds crazy, but it's amazing what that can actually yield. Just in terms of trying to just get away and create something unique and original. So I'm going to rip from Brian Sharp, who I was lucky enough to be able to work at Ion Storm. We both developed the physics system for Deus Ex, Invisible War, and he works at Bungie, or I think he still does. gave a great GDC talk on leadership. And part of that, he took a quote from Nike, and that is that training is the opposite of hoping. The joy that we have, the stuff that we've been handed, this space of our own experiences that we draw from in order to become creative, that space that we just exist in outside of the work, engineering, outside of the work to make something that really is truly unique, is the opposite of what it takes to make it happen. And I highly recommend everybody, if you can, go to GDC Online Vault, and if you have to pay for it, it's worth the hour to listen to how he expounds upon that. So that's another technique. So we revel in what we've been given, and we enjoy it, and we create new stuff based on it. We use that as our launch pads, but if you're really talking about, oh wow, I've got something here, I've got something that I want to create that is not actually based on that foundation, it's not based on something that I've been given, literally shut everything off and just try to work from someplace that isn't fed from Kotaku or Facebook or wherever it is that you usually get your input and your content from. Because that's usually all based on everything else, and it feeds on everything else. So I think that's everything that I had. Thank you so much.